Welcome. Welcome to Touching the Edge. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy to be here with you. My name is Drake, and I'm really happy to be here with you because I'm celebrating abundance. And I want to suggest to you that emotional mastery comes from the active experience of abundance. When you feel abundant right now, that's when you feel that primacy, that ability to be in charge of your emotions rather than your emotions being in charge of you. When you don't feel like you have enough, when you feel like things are lining up, when you start feeling like you have bad luck, that's when our emotions seem to take charge and not the better ones. Now I want to reframe that. I want to reframe that in real time. I want to suggest to you this, not that the emotions are bad, but when we identify with them, what ends up happening is that some part of us invests in maintaining ourselves in that state. If we identify as ourselves as anxiety, some part of us begins to work to always help keep us in that state of anxiety. So I want to suggest to you that we want to understand something about abundance. We want to recognize that just because we're right, it doesn't mean that we're not wrong. Just because you're right, you could be right about what you feel so strongly about. But when you convince yourself that you're completely and utterly right, that's when you step into being wrong. That's when you become reactive and begin to attack others. That's when we step out of that field of abundance that's really related to our authentic self and become externally identified like that is the bad person. So I want to suggest to you that one of the most important elements of abundance, of this stimulation of resilience, is finding a way to step into forgiveness. This is a forgiveness that allows us to have compassion for others. I mean, actually, when you really think about it, it's actually understandable why people go wrong. They grow up in environments where they're influenced in really, really tragic ways. They grow up in experience of abuse and trauma. They grow up hearing really negative things on a regular basis. When you are hearing something on a regular basis, time and time again, in different circumstances, you begin to accept that as the truth. So this forgiveness that I'm talking about is really the stepping into the compassion. As one of my great teachers said, the heart of compassion is the compass. And to me, that is that star that shines from right here, that's meant to shine into the world. And that star comes from the relationship to forgiveness. It doesn't mean that we keep people in our lives who don't have an appropriate intent. I really want to suggest that limit setting is one of the most important elements of abundance. But when we set the limit, we don't want to live in the resentment. Because living in the resentment is keeping us steeped in negative emotions. It's that point when something that feels bad feels good. And that's what resentment is. We feel so good in being right about this person being the villain in our story that we want to sort of keep scratching that itch no matter how bad we end up feeling. But your best self does not come out of resentment. And so I want to suggest to you right now that to step into that field of abundance, which is recognizing that there's no attachment to any kind of negativity in this world. We can find a way to move forward through positivity. And so to me, this is one of the ways that I frame what I call emotional mastery. How about you? How do you frame emotional mastery? How do you forgive? Are you good at forgiveness? I'd be interested in hearing your expression. So I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. Here we go. When we forgive people in our life, what we're actually doing is forgiving our life. And that's one of the things for me that we need to learn how to do. We need to learn how to forgive life itself. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being part of this conversation. I bring my hands together and I bow to you in positive manifestation. Namaste.